Hi, everyone, and welcome to my series of conference papers that I've been presenting over the last, I think, 7 years. So I'm just re-recording them, and this is the paper that I presented in 2018 in the conference of Deleuze India. And the title of this conference paper was Finance Art and the Society of Control, a case study of the Finance Art Installation SDcoin and the blockchain. So my name is Stephanie Dosu. I am the co-founder of the Finance Art Institute. I hold a PhD in computer science from Trinity College Dublin. My research is a practice-based research on finance art, which is investigating the use of finance's own methods and tools in art production. Finance art is a term I have come up with, which is modeled on the term bioart. While bioart appropriates the techniques and methods of biotechnologies to remap that territory, finance art appropriates the methods and techniques of finance to remap our relationship to the territory of finance as well as the territory of finance itself. This research comes out of the experience and knowledge I have built and reflected upon over the last 20 years working in finance and technology and bringing it to my artistic practice. I mean, at this stage, it's actually more like 24, 25 years. But at the time of presentation of this paper, it was 20 years. This paper explores the strategies deployed by the field of finance art and its intricacies with the Deleuze concept of societies of control. This exploration uses my finance art piece SDcoin and the blockchain. So the state it was in 2018, it has evolved since then as a case study to demonstrate how technologies used in finance to control society can be used by artists and other communities to bring more transparency and to bypass government and institution backed global finance systems and financial markets. With all the risks that are implied, especially at the moment we're in a real crypto meltdown and winter. However, the tools are still very potent and valid. But the fact that it's an unregulated environment means that abuses are common and are permitted, and at the moment, regulation is being introduced and is being welcomed by the industry. So, this presentation focuses on how technologies and SDcoin and the blockchain, of course, focuses on how technologies such as the blockchain can be used for dissent and resistance in the context of societies of control. So, according to Foucault, disciplinary societies are characterized by spaces of enclosures, space and time boundaries. Similarly to factories, financial exchanges were organized in this manner, with highly specialized functions based on activities and operations. Information was flowing physically from one room to the next for different purposes, and as such, the main technology used in financial markets in the 18th, 19th, and first half of the 20th centuries was architecture. as it laid out the most optimal way for space to be structured in order to ensure the best productivity. And that was, I suppose, a real mark of the time of those disciplinary societies. So, for example, in the French Bourse, Le Palais Brognard, the primary board of exchange was inside the building with official stockbrokers, while the unofficial secondary market was located outside in the street. Trading was bound in time also. It was happening in the pit between defined hours, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the primary board, but from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the secondary market in the street. So this is a photomontage by Andreas Gorski, and it's in the Tate Modern in London, and this is a representation of capitalism in the 90s, the fascination of the traders, their secret language made of gestures that look like a social dance and could move millions in seconds. And this is very much space and time bound, and that's late 20th century. But at that time, things were transforming, especially in the 80s and then in the 90s and then in the 2000s. Everything had changed. Things have changed since then in the early 2000s and then 2010s, even more. The buildings have been deserted, like Le Palais Brognard or Wall Street in New York. Most exchanges are now virtualized programs sitting on computers located in data centers away from city centers. They're now in the country and in the suburbs. Algorithmic robots do most of the trading in these new products automatically without human intervention. This trading is done on a 24/7 basis for some markets, and we're seeing that more and more, such as in currency or FX trading. And these are done all over the world on financial networks, which are computer networks. There are no more space and time boundaries, no national or other types of frontiers. The financial system is fully global, not national and physically located anymore. The characteristics of societies of control that Deleuze defines in his paper can be recognized in the new structures of global finance. The products traded and their prices are not attached to the underlying companies and their performance in the real economy. With the dematerialization of finance and financial instruments and financial innovation, the products traded on exchanges are numbers recorded on a computer that are dictated by offer and demand on the markets and sometimes by information or disinformation rather than linked to any company's productivity. Financial instruments are also created and derived from other products, such as stocks or mortgages, and the process of securitization is a way to derive and create new financial instruments to be traded on virtual exchanges. Securitization is based on complex and black box models that derive new instruments from other products, such as mortgages, but also from other derivatives. So they're derivatives of derivatives of derivatives, adding more abstraction to the financial products through financial innovation, which is largely based on technology and computer science and AI and new ways of manipulating data. So, what is finance art? Finance art is composed of the art practices and theories that use finance frameworks, methodologies, and practices to produce art. The use of those tools that have been developed and are used by the financial world is what makes an art piece or theory finance art. It functions at an asignifying level and brings a discipline which is typically intellectual down to sensorial experience. It invites people to engage with the subject in a different way. These are a few examples of finance artwork. So these are photos of my installation called The Glitter of a Flash Crash, which was presented as part of the Materiality exhibition in the Quadrangle Art Gallery in NUI Galway. It is based on a series of data visualizations, animations that I have created using a data set of second data for several stocks, which are part of the Dow Jones Industrial Average Index during the first flash crash, which happened on the 6th of May 2010 at 2:45 p.m. During this flash crash, the US stock markets plunged and recovered by 6% in 3 minutes. The flash crash and all the subsequent ones are symptoms of malfunctions in global markets. And they are happening more and more frequently. Data visualizations, animations of these data sets were projected onto a wall sculpture, which was designed based on 3D visualization of financial market data. These are other examples of finance artworks by the French art collective RYBN, whose interventions focused on financial markets as well at the time. They have created an algo trader robot called ADM8, which is trading the 8,279 euros that the French Ministry of Culture have given them as part of an art grant. This boat is called ADM8, as I said, and is doing pretty well. What it was in 2018, it was still going, and its performance can be followed online in real time. They have like this really amazing interface. They have also created that flash crash natal birth chart and a sonification that represents the most dramatic part of that trading day. Currently, banks, financial exchanges, and institutions such as hedge funds have an unfair advantage in financial market transactions through their control of data, technology, communication infrastructure, and information. Information asymmetry is epitomized in markets such as dark pools, where high frequency trading companies hold information that institutional, private, and individual investors do not have, and act as parasites in those markets. Also, some of those companies actually sell those products themselves, making a profit and knowing that they're on the side of those profitable transactions. An alternative to this type of trading framework is the use of blockchain. A blockchain technology that has a distributed ledger which can hold public records of these transactions with their price and would bring transparency to all participants. All transactions and prices would become available to all and be managed in a distributed environment, so there wouldn't be disadvantage of owning the environment and the infrastructure and the tools. This use case will be demonstrated in my work SDcoin and the blockchain, and this work has evolved obviously in the last 4 years as well. So I am still currently working on this piece, and actually, even to this date in 2022, I'm still developing parts of it. Um, I had a full securitization system developed in 2019, and I'm still exploring as part of this series of work how all the things I'm going to be talking about right now can be integrated. So, really, this series explore how financial innovation through blockchain-based markets with a time-based disclosure mechanism can bring transparency and help rectify the information asymmetry in global finance by making all transactions and prices and smart contracts and rules, which are programmed through those contracts, available to all market participants at the same time, and by managing the ledger in a distributed environment. It also looks at how a public distributed ledger can bring transparency to processes such as synthetic securitization, which is part of um, the the artwork, the specific artwork I developed in 2019. And it is a securitization of a loan book, which is typically based on a black box model. And this new way of doing it brings some transparency to the whole process, and especially to all the state of the loans and the individual assets which are making part of this derivative instrument, which is being securitized through this securitization process by recording and disclosing all mutations, transformations, and evolutions of financial instruments and derivatives. This type of distributed and parallel models can help escape some controls from, and I'm talking about controls from those institutions which are currently controlling those processes, would distribute this process as well and make it available to all and create new market typologies based on common values. It also looks at the functions and operations of the creation and use of a new cryptocurrency, in this case, SDcoin, which is the cryptocurrency created as part of this artwork and this artwork series. This is very much a work in progress. The images are on screen that I'm presenting right now are of its making process, which is currently ongoing and was ongoing at the time. I have not yet developed the interface that will govern its mode of interaction with an audience. Now it is developed actually, and it's part of SDcoin and the blockchain artwork that I have presented on the website, on the Finance Art Institute.org website. Part of it are presented there. And I'm currently also working on an online exhibition. So this will all be presented on this platform. So this installation is an agencement of codes and functions that operate as a sandbox for experimentation. SDcoin is a cryptocurrency that can be used on some distributed exchanges and is based on the Ethereum platform. These exchanges could use blockchain technologies for clearing and settlement recording and holding smart contracts. Financial instruments can be created, including examples of securitization and other derivatives. This is still a work in progress, the sandbox part of it. This piece attempts to give new perspective on global finance and show how new technologies can be used as a form of resistance against the societies of control. It is a demonstration on how transparency can be achieved as a time-based system that widely gives access to information, thus removing information asymmetry. It is also a self-contained system, unregulated, that can serve a community and bypass official financial systems. It can be based on an economy of commons, based on common values programmed into smart contracts and governed through token governance and programmatic collegial governance, integrated within the blockchain and cryptographic environment, which means that the human side would be taken out of it and there would be a full agreement on how the governance framework works and full transparency and automation of it, which would reduce the opportunity for, I suppose, in some ways, like um, regulations, because it would be fully transparent and it would be obvious to all how everything is functioning and how it aligns with the common values of that community. So the main operation of SDcoin and the blockchain is really to facilitate the travel between the levels of abstraction which are put in place between modern finance and the impact it has on immediate reality. It is also to experiment directly with new technologies which are used in global finance and to interact with them by creating new alternative financial products which are taking advantage of the affordances of a cryptographic programmatic environment of blockchain technologies. So, thank you for listening and for watching my conference paper from 2018 and the ideas that I was putting out there, as well as the theories of finance arts and the artworks um, that I played with at the time and which are still part of my artistic research and practice. So, thank you very much.